welcome to A Bold and Distant Future. It is May 7th, and
Unbelievable.
I feel like I'm losing the plot on what's happening in the world these days. It's like this weird loop when we're in a war, we're not in a war, but I feel like, as Amy Goodman said in the movie, she says, we must broadcast what is being done in our name. This war is being done in the name of our country, and we're paying for it.
And the other thing is, we really do need to speak up about it, because you don't want the rest of the world to think we're going along with this bullshit.
Exactly.
Just saying.
Yeah. We have to
Seems like I've spent most of my adult life apologizing for things my government does.
Yeah, God. Yeah.
Isn't that the truth? When do Americans go to Europe, they wear a Canadian pin on their backpack. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I got the T-shirt that's the full flag.
You just don't want people to even see your passport. Didn't they change the color of the U.S. passports for a while just to make them look less American? Instead of the blue, they want the brown color or something?
Yeah, maybe if they put Trump's picture in it like they're talking about, they should change it to brown again. Kind of a nice shit brown.
Well, the May Day protests happened across the country, and people got out, and a lot of people did, marches and things. I didn't go to a march myself.
I went to an art event.
Did you? Yeah, I went to an art event. Okay.
That art event turned out to be quite extraordinary. These people have this house way up in the mountains, and it is like walking into a museum. It's incredible.
No, I might have to edit out gay guys.
Sorry.
Why?
How did I address that?
I don't know. How do you say that? I guess whatever. Why?
A couple of gay
Freedom
men.
of speech, damn it.
I mean, I'm sure they would self-identify as gay men.
Yeah. So
Good
what
point.
am I supposed to say?
I don't
Other
know.
sexually oriented men?
I
I don't know. You got to keep up with the terminology, and I may not be there.
Why don't you leave it in and see what the comments say?
don't know. Well, WagingNonviolence.com, I think it is, says that May Day was even more important than we think, even though there may not have been as many people out there on May Day as No King's March. They say it's a dress rehearsal for things to come, and hopefully it got some people motivated and organized.
I know locally there was a gathering at a Target, which I don't know which one it was. I think there's one in Santa Rosa. There's another one in, there's two in Santa Rosa now that I'm thinking about it. I don't know which one they gathered at, but there's another one in Roanoke Park. So, but there was apparently a big gathering there to, protest the store. And I know that's been pretty effective in getting their sales down, like the Tesla takedown, which
Right.
I went to a few of.
Yeah,
I think the most brilliant tactic I've heard is one that I believe you mentioned a few weeks back, where people went into Target and they got ice scrapers and then they returned them.
Oh, that's a great one.
I think they were buying salt.
Well, I
why.
think it was ice scrapers primarily because
that
of
it?
ice. Yeah.
Hey, here's the casualty tracker from Al Jazeera. And what's interesting is that Lebanon went up 200. I think they were at 2,509 last week. They went up to 2,700. So 200 people died in Lebanon, were killed. And in Iran, about 100 people were killed, because last week's numbers were 3,375. So more people died this week in Lebanon than died in Iran.
That's probably invalid already because they bombed Beirut this morning.
Yeah, could
Who
be.
bombed Beirut?
Israel.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. What's interesting to me is I'm seeing a few countries here that I don't believe I've seen before. Cyprus, that suddenly appears. I don't know, Oman, UAE, Qatar, Bahrain, Kuwait. I guess they've all been attacked before, but these are representing what exactly?
American
Yeah.
bases in several of the places and refineries. They bombed refineries.
Huh.
Yeah, the red dots were Iran's, their killings, I guess you could say. The blue
Maybe
ones
those
were.
countries were there before. I just they just didn't, twig. But it's weird to see how regional this has become. Cyprus.
Yeah, why?
I mean, I know the Brits have a base there, and I know it was hit before. But
there was a podcast I was listening to that was talking about the unstated cost of this war is going to be repairing American bases abroad in the area. And for the oil companies that are based here, the cost of repairing refineries that have been hit, it's hard to think about what has happened with that.
well, yeah, we don't necessarily we think in terms of casualties as we should, but we don't, or at least I don't, think about the economic costs of rebuilding.
That doesn't even include the economic cost of what's going to need to be rebuilt in Iran.
Yeah.
Well, here's a slight win in Arizona. Republicans fell one short of a bill to criminalize blowing whistles to warn of ice. So you can still blow a whistle to in your neighborhood if ice is there. A lot of people blow whistles, to let them know. And in Arizona, they weren't able to criminalize the whistle blowing.
I can't believe that was even made into an attempted bill. That's insane.
It's crazy, huh? Really?
Yeah, the Republicans are supposed to be the party of freedom from government, right?
Yeah, exactly. Now, this is pretty dark, heavy stuff. It's deaths in detention. ICE is rapidly expanding detention camps into warehouses despite record deaths. So I did a little bit of a dive into the number of deaths in detention. And this year, I think we're up to 18 people have died in detention. So that doesn't include people like Renee Good or Alex Pretty. These are
the actual detentees, is that right?
Exactly.
Detainees, yes.
Detainees. Yeah, it sucks.
It's interesting to me that they're even keeping data on it because I just read an article that Valentine tossed my way about the quiet deletion of data from all across government websites so that things that they were keeping track of are not being kept track of anymore. There used to be a website in the government where, for instance, if you're buying a home, you can go and find out if there's any kind of chemical contamination near the place. That's gone. And other things like that.
Really?
The website that kept track of how much was being spent on climate disasters. If it's not there, it must not exist.
Well, a lot of that stuff has been archived at the Internet Archive. If you
I
know
hope so.
A lot of the things that were taken down from many of the websites when Trump came into power have been backed up. So it's not lost forever. This fellow is the youngest detainee who has been killed, and he was 19 years old, a Mexican fellow, Royer Perez Jimenez. Killed, picked up off the streets. I think his road to detention was through police and then into ICE, but still no due process, no court case, in detention, and now he's dead, a 19-year-old. It's pretty horrendous. It's just horrendous. So I put a list up of all the 18 people that have been killed this year. Last year I heard the numbers were like 30 or so in 2025. People killed in ICE detention centers. So
previous slides suggested there was something like 40 so far in 2026. All right.
So I put these up here. This is just off of Wikipedia, but it gives you a snapshot. Look, there's Cambodian people, Nicaraguans, Mexicans, Hondurans.
Vietnamese I saw in the last slide.
This is not going to take off as an issue until they start going after white people.
Right.
Start going after immigrants from European countries. Then it'll take off. Right now, it's just, gosh, that's too bad. But, we won't hit the streets in full force until we start seeing some Brits and some Norwegians. And you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Of course.
Well, that was the fear of the World Cup, when is the World Cup? Is that this summer?
I think so.
Can't believe that they're actually going to do the World Cup here.
A lot of people travel internationally for the World Cup, so there will be many travelers here.
Hotel bookings are much less than they were anticipated to be at this point in time.
Yeah, it's tanking.
Interesting.
Speaking of international travel. And why? Because our country is so welcoming and open-hearted.
Amnesty International, who I trust, desperately trust, is basically saying the U.S. is becoming a no-go area.
Yeah. Tourism in general across the board is down here. Nobody's talking about it because it's an important industry, and nobody's talking about it because that's tanking.
They're talking about it in Vegas, and they're talking about it in Florida. Vegas, I didn't realize how much Canada really contributed to the tourist industry, but Vegas is dying. I keep my eye on Vegas. It is a good way to sort of predict what's going to happen next.
Interesting. I never thought of that.
What's happening in the Supreme Court is interesting. This ruling they made, which I thought was going in the favor of voters' rights, is now anti-voter rights because the Supreme Court wouldn't hear the argument again. It says here is a landmark ruling set back the right Congress granted, the Voters' Right Act from 1965 of racial equality and electoral opportunity. So now it's a free-for-all. Every state is redistricting madly, trying to...
Oh, yeah, this runs deep. This runs very deep. What is Trump? I don't know if you're going to touch on this, but Trump is asking Republican governors to hold off on any further elections until they have the opportunity to redistrict.
Well, they've done
you know
that.
About this?
They did that in, say, Louisiana. They canceled the election.
Yeah.
And many people had already sent in their votes, mail-in ballots. People overseas had already started voting, and they've canceled the whole election. Crazy.
How long does it take to gerrymander a state? And if you make all future elections contingent on that, you're setting yourself up for a moral hazard, aren't you?
Indeed.
If you have the votes on the state level and you're not going to get any flack from the governor, then I think you can probably do it quickly to redistrict.
Well, what about that executive order that came out last week about how the post office has to make sure that they're sending valid voters, blah, 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 and he just dumps the task on them. And states' rights agencies were saying, ignore the order because you can't do that. And thinking about the timing.
It's mind-boggling how we're going backward. And
well, bear in mind, for these people, it's actually forward.
Yeah, it reminds me of that stewardess joke that they told in Saudi Arabia and some stewardess got fired over getting on the intercom and saying, "Welcome to Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. You can set your clock back 500 years." She got fired for it, apparently.
Yeah.
That's where they're headed. They want to go back to whatever it is they think they had at whatever point it was where they thought they were in their heyday.
I've had this theory that, how, in the 70s and 80s, we all went to Europe at some point, right?
Yeah.
And we got there and we looked around and we said, gosh, this is so much better than what we have in the States. So they've got social democracy to a much greater extent, universal health care, the college tuition is free, they support the arts, they do all these wonderful things. And we're going, we need to take this back to the United States. At the same time that people several echelons above us are going to Saudi Arabia, UAE, and Kuwait and going, gosh, this is wonderful. We should bring this back to the States. The whole idea of going 500 years backwards is actually the appropriate direction for a significant part of our population. They want that as much as we want what Europe has and is kind of losing. Just a thought. I've thought of that before. We get a lesson from the social democratic states of Western Europe. They get a lesson from the autocratic states of the Middle East. I didn't mean to silence everybody.
I was thinking interesting thought. I'm also looking at this picture of Colbert interviewing Obama. I don't know if you saw that. It was kind of fun.
It was good. I thought it was very good to talk about where late night is at, because we are going to lose Colbert in another week and a half.
Yep.
And he's
21st.
going away. And so we'll
Again?
he's finally going off the air.
Oh, on purpose?
Paramount.
No.
They said they're discontinuing the show, that it was losing money, which is a line of bullshit if I ever heard one.
So we're going to be left with Jimmy Kimmel and Jimmy Fallon. I don't think CBS is putting in a replacement for Colbert. They're just basically ending.
Yeah, no, they're canceling the program completely.
Yeah, the talk show legacy is gone.
They'll fill it with some piece of crap
Yeah.
that nobody watches.
Yeah,
Then they'll be able to lose some more money.
It's like the end of an era where there is some kind of real-time reaction on a daily basis of
of an era. I think for a person like Colbert, I'm sure that he will plug into something good.
Probably going to do movies and get involved in that kind of thing. And the daily reaction with monologue and the ridiculing people in power on a nightly basis, which was it's kind of an American tradition. It's going back to Jack Parr and
You
Johnny
bet.
Carson and beyond, you know.
It goes back way further than that. You know, before television, there were people doing this.
Yeah, maybe it does tap into even like Will Rogers kind of lampooning of those in power.
I'd say it goes back to Voltaire.
Well, this is an interesting article about the people surrounding Trump. His aides are keeping him in the dark on purpose. Donald Trump's advisors are treating him like he can't handle the reality of the war in Iran, and they may be right. But that fact is a danger to the constitutional order. Basically, they're just not telling him everything because they know he loses it and goes ballistic. So they're like, maybe they're trying to keep his blood pressure down? I don't know what they're doing, but their aides don't bring every fact to him as things happen. So we have a president that's in the dark.
We have a president who's a little bit more in the dark.
Yeah, he's in the dark. And did you see him with those kids around him for the Presidential Fitness Award talk? And he was going on about what he wants to do to Iran and why Iran won't surrender and how they're just going to have to keep killing them, and right in front of these kids. Horrible.
That whole thing, I don't know if you watched the entire interview, but that whole thing was just absolutely staggering. He's talking to one kid, he's talking about letting trans people, he goes, yeah, there was a man who wanted to run in women's track and they let him. And then he is talking to the kid on his right and the kid's going, I want to be a weightlifter or something like that. And he goes, you won't have to worry about that sort of stuff, will you? And he pats him on the arm and I'm like, that is absolutely sickening.
It's nauseating.
That's a better
Trump.
word.
Well, whoever thought that was a good idea to do a photo op with a bunch of kids really needs to have their head examined.
But did you know on the 4th of July, they're doing some kind of Hunger Games sort of styled events, I think, with high school students.
Who is?
Trump on the White House. And there's plus, I believe they're going to do a big UFC fight challenge in the evening out on the White House lawn. That's not with kids, though. That's with professional fighters. The White House is going to be insane on the 4th of July.
Yeah, it sounds like Battle Royale.
Yeah.
Good golly.
Anyway, this is their vision of America.
I was hung up on that idea of the old talk shows, you know, and so I pulled up a list just for nostalgia's sake. Steve
Yeah.
Allen,
Steve Allen.
Mike Douglas, Murph Griffin, Johnny Carson, Donahue, Dick Cavett. He was our thoughtful guy.
Right.
Yeah.
It's going to be up to shows like A Bold and Distant Future to take up the challenge of
pick up the
keeping
slack, yeah.
people appraised of what's going on out there in the news, you know.
Yeah, Roy, start working on your monologues.
Now we're cooking.
I should do a monologue at the beginning of every show. That's a good
I
idea.
think you should.
Well, that's where we're headed, so maybe we can do it with sock puppets or something. I don't know.
Good God.
Well, a lot to think about this week. May 7th, we're heading into the summer. It's going to be interesting to see in California here. We're having our primary elections.
The thing I worry about is that the Democrats have too many people on the ticket and it'll get too far split and we'll end up with 2 Republicans.
Yeah.
Therefore, I am making a pitch to vote for Becerra because even though we may not like all of his former work, I think he has the most solid foundation, in spite of the fact that there are other people who look good when they talk, and the billionaire who wants to buy his way in, which I will not trust ever. But we got to at least get it down to a race between a Democrat and a Republican, or even 2 Democrats would be fine.
Democrats in California need to vote like Republicans in that we all vote together like a monolith. Sadly, we don't.
One thing we absolutely and completely necessary need to get out there is that Chad Bianca is a complete loose cannon. If he got in as governor, we'd all be screwed. So would probably go off the air.
I saw him on the California gubernatorial debates, and
That's what I'm talking
He
about.
seems like-
Did you see the CBS one?
I don't know if it was CBS, but I saw one just last night, and it was
That was
he's
CNN.
like a Trump in training. We
Yeah.
need no regulations. We need to let businesses fly and do whatever they want and go loose.
first
It's like,
one-
holy crap.
During the first debate, he said nothing about what he wanted to do. He just screamed acid and vitriol the whole night. It was horrifying to listen to him.
Yeah, it's scary, but I think a lot of Republicans like that message.
Apparently,
But what I heard is that Tom Steyer was recently endorsed by Jane Fonda.
Tom Steyer's a billionaire. Let me ask you this:
Yeah, I
have
know.
any of the other billionaires that have jumped into the governmental arena ended up being
Worked
people
out.
that you trust?
Yeah, that's a good point. We'll
I'm not
see.
going to trust another billionaire because I don't really believe that the whole storyline that he's feeding is anything that's ever going to come true. And he's still a billionaire, so he still has his own interests at heart.
Why don't we put our heads together here on A Bold and Distant Future and endorse a candidate? Let's keep talking about it, but getting closer to the election, let's try to give an endorsement.
I'll give an endorsement right now. Vote for Becerra.
You're a Becerra man? Okay.
I'm not necessarily fully Becerra man. I mean, I really like what Matt Mann said about when he was interviewed by Jon Stewart. However, he doesn't have enough of a. Right now, all he's going to do is pull votes away from the top of the ticket,
Yeah,
and
what I-
so is Katie Porter. Plus, I heard she has some anger management issues. Listen to the interview he did with Jon Stewart. It's on YouTube.
I need to watch it. I haven't.
He's done some interesting stuff.
Yeah, I have to thank whoever sent the interview link to Katie Couric's The Next Question with
Yeah, it was me.
Timothy Snyder. Wow,
That
that's
is
a
the
great
interview I was talking about. It's an hour and 8 minutes long, and I don't usually watch something that long, but I watched it in 2 parts in
Yeah.
between stuff I was doing. And when he started talking about Trump envisioning himself as Jesus, I went, that explains it all. And of course, we've already seen him as Dr. Jesus, so, we know that was not a slip up.
I'm sorry, could you circle back to that comment? Trump sees himself as Jesus?
Yeah, listen to the interview. He presents a bunch of evidence about Trump thinking that he is the Jesus reincarnation, backed by all the Christian nationalists that have gone astray.
I'll take a listen.
It's interesting,
that sounds completely off the wall.
but it's not. When you listen to it, it's not.
I don't believe he believes he's Jesus. I think he's portraying
Yeah,
whatever
he's
he needs
pulling
to
the cards
get
together
to
so
get
that
the
he's
votes and get
pictured as Jesus.
his people voting.
He's the
for him.
second coming.
Yeah, I don't think he believes it. He's a con man.
Yeah,
But
pull any
anyhow.
card you can that's going to get you where you want to be.
Right. Well, I look forward to talking about these issues and more in the upcoming weeks. I want to thank you guys for being here in A Bold and Distant Future. And we'll see you all next week. Thank you.
All right.
All right. Take care.